as you can tell from the title of this video, this is about what will happen when you go to get your car remapped at one of the main tuning places around the UK. I can't speak for obviously other countries. This is just my experience of going to one of the most recommended places in the UK. So the main reason I went is because after having all the bolt-on mods, things like the plenum spacer, I've got an InGen induction kit intake, decatted exhaust, and then like a full catback exhaust system. You don't really get the most from the mods without then going and having a remap to make the car all work with those different bolt-on mods and make it all fuel properly and get the mixture right, the air to fuel ratio mixture. And that's kind of apparent when I race Chris in his totally standard, no mods 350Z. So yeah, after him absolutely beating me when we did a few third gear pulls, well, it was like third gear to fourth gear pulls, I decided definitely going to be needing the remap, especially as his had nothing done to it, and obviously I've spent a lot of money on loads of bolt-on mods, and he really, you could tell my power was dropping off towards the end of the rev range. It was just getting really bad. It just hit where his carried on pulling, mine just sort of bogged down, and that was it. It didn't really have much more to give after like 5,000 revs, something like that. So after looking on all the forums, I decided that the place I would go would be Abbey Motorsport. Now they're based in London, well, just the other side of London from me. I'm sort of Midlands, so it took me maybe half a day to get down there with taking London traffic into consideration. But yeah, it seems to be the place to go for where I am in the UK. They offer the Uprev software map, which is their license to sort of tap into your ECU. They don't have to take your ECU out and weld any dodgy chip in or anything like that. They're licensed to have access to your ECU once they've uploaded the software. From there they can then adjust all the fuel in on a rolling road and get the mixture just right. So yeah, I got down to them for quite early in the morning, maybe like 9 o'clock, and they said to allow maybe like 2 to 3 hours for actually doing the whole thing. By the time they've got it all loaded up, put onto the dyno, which is a hub dyno, so it's not a rolling road. They take your wheels off and bolt your car onto two like machines that will then measure the horsepower of your car. So when you get there, you go and sit in the office, have a cup of tea or whatever, see the garage dog that they've got that hangs about there. He's pretty cool. And yeah, just wait, and they'll get the car loaded up, and they'll do a couple of test runs just to get all of the data logged onto the computer of how it's running at the moment as it is when you turn up there. Which mine, for some reason, had an issue. One of the knock sensors had an issue, which was telling the car to sort of, it's nearly like a limp mode. It was causing loads of flat spots throughout the rev range, which they're the sort of things you can feel as you're accelerating. You can feel the power just dropping off slightly. So that was all eradicated, that issue, which was good, because it's not something, it's less than ideal to have that sort of thing going on. So this is my final graph. As you can see, this lower line here is what the car went in as. So this is the first few runs they measured without doing anything. You can see all these little flat spots where it dies off, and like especially here, which is where I said you could feel it towards the top of the rev range. And with having that knock sensor issue, it was down to 225 horsepower at the rear wheel. So that's not taking into account all the loss through drivetrain and stuff like that. So it's probably be running at about 250 horsepower at the flywheel with this. And then this is the figure once it's all been done. So 257, which is an increase of what, about 32 horsepower. So it's not a bad gain, which it's actually more than most people would normally gain just through having that knock sensor issue anyway. So then you can see this line nice and smooth all the way through here, and it pulls nice and smoothly all the way up to the top, which is where you hit your peak horsepower there. So some of the things that they can tune into the car while it's on the rolling road or whatever, they can actually make things like a little bit of over fueling on the overrun. Also, you're going to notice how much smoother the car accelerates. It even sounds a lot smoother. It sort of sounds like a totally different car now from what it did when it went in. It really just pulls from such low revs now, which it didn't before. It would sort of bog down a little bit when you went to pull off from traffic lights or just from a standstill or whatever. So yeah, I definitely recommend having it done, especially if you've had those bolt-on mods like the same as what I've done. It made a huge difference to the drive home. Was ace, with it being I had to go through the Dartford tunnel and all the pops and bangs and flames and stuff. It definitely is a better journey home than it is driving down there.